Why can the brain recognize faces but struggle to remember names? Surely you've experienced this before. You instantly recognize someone, remember exactly where you met them, but can't recall their name, even if you've known them for a long time. This isn't just your problem. It happens to most people. But why is the human brain so quick at recognizing faces yet struggles with remembering names? Neuroscience and psychology provide some mind-blowing answers to this phenomenon. The brain processes faces and names in two different systems. A 2011 study from Dartmouth University found that faces and names are processed in completely different regions of the brain. Face recognition is handled by the fusiform gyrus in the visual cortex. This area is specialized for detecting and memorizing facial features, allowing us to recognize thousands of different faces effortlessly. Name recall is processed in the anterior temporal lobe, which is responsible for linking linguistic information with cognition. The issue is that this area is not as powerful as the fusiform gyrus in processing and storing information. In other words, the brain has evolved to optimize face recognition but does not prioritize remembering names. Faces have greater evolutionary significance than names. From an evolutionary perspective, humans have always needed to recognize others to differentiate between friend and foe, determine social status, and read emotions. As a result, the brain has developed a strong system for processing faces, allowing us to instantly recognize family members, enemies, or tribal members. In contrast, names do not provide direct survival value. In the hunter-gatherer era, our ancestors relied on physical features and voices to recognize each other rather than names. It was only as society became more complex that people started naming one another, but the brain has not yet adapted to store this information efficiently. Names are arbitrary data that do not inherently link to a person's identity. A 2018 study from the University of York found that the brain remembers information better when it is directly associated with an object, such as the occupation of a person named John who is a baker. However, names themselves have no direct connection to a person's face or personality, making them a type of arbitrary data that is harder to recall. This is also why we remember nicknames or titles better than real names, since they are often linked to a distinctive feature or characteristic of a person. The brain prioritizes images over words due to a limited memory window. A 2016 Harvard University study discovered that the brain has a narrow memory window when meeting new people. When you encounter someone, the brain immediately processes multiple pieces of information, such as their facial features, expressions, clothing, voice, and location. With so much data to handle, the brain does not prioritize remembering names because they are not visual elements. This means we often forget names right after hearing them unless we create a strong association with an image or special event. The brain processes faces holistically, while names are processed sequentially. A 2020 study by Professor Wang Guoliang at Peking University found that face recognition is a holistic process, meaning the brain remembers an entire face as a whole rather than as individual details. In contrast, names are stored sequentially, requiring us to remember each letter and syllable separately. This makes recalling names much harder than recognizing faces because faces can be stored as a single image in memory, whereas names must be retrieved piece by piece. If you struggle to remember names, don't worry. Here are some scientifically proven methods to improve your name recall ability. Associate names with visual images. The brain remembers images better than words, so linking a name with a specific image helps with faster recall. Repeat the name immediately after hearing it. According to a 2015 Duke University study, repeating a person's name right after hearing it can improve name recall by up to 50%. When someone introduces themselves, try repeating their name right away. Nice to meet you, Min? Or, Knock, what do you do for a living? Or, Tongue, do you like reading too? Use names in conversations. The more you use a name in conversation, the easier it is to remember. Try mentioning the name occasionally while talking, like, So, Min, where's your favorite place to travel? Or ending a conversation with, It was great talking to you, Knock. Take notes of names whenever possible. After meeting someone new, jot down their name in your phone or notebook along with a unique detail to help with recall. Create a story link. When the brain associates information with a story, it retains it longer. For example, if you meet a doctor named Fuang, think of Fuang the skilled doctor. Or if you meet a businessman named Long, imagine Long investing in a major company. Combine with gestures or actions. When hearing someone's name, try nodding or smiling. This helps activate motor memory, making it easier for the brain to retain information. Focus and pay attention when hearing a name. Many people forget names immediately because they don't truly listen. When someone introduces themselves, take a second to focus on their face and name and mentally repeat it. Some mind-blowing facts about face and name memory. The brain can recognize up to 5,000 faces but remembers only a few names. A 2018 study from the University of York found that humans can recognize an average of 5,000 faces, but most people can only recall about 150 to 200 names. This shows that the brain prioritizes storing facial recognition over name retention. We remember strangers' faces better if they have unique features. A 2014 study from the University of Stirling found that people with distinctive facial features, such as a large nose, very big eyes, or angular face shapes, are remembered longer. Meanwhile, individuals with average-looking faces, not particularly remarkable, are more easily forgotten. The brain misreads faces, making you think you've met someone before but can't recall their name. This is known as false recognition, which happens when the brain uses stored face patterns to fill in the gaps. This can create the feeling that you've seen someone before, even if you're only recalling a similar-looking face. The brain processes faces 10 times faster than names. When you see a familiar person, the brain recognizes their face within just 100 milliseconds, but it takes an average of 1.2 to 2 seconds to recall their name. This proves that names are more difficult to retrieve than facial recognition. Even people with superior memory struggle to recall names. Even those with extraordinary memory skills still find it hard to remember names unless they have strong visual associations. This proves that names are not naturally easy for the brain to process. They require specific memory techniques. Are technology and social media making our brains lazy at remembering names? A 2021 study from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology found that reliance on social media and smartphones can weaken name recall. Since people don't need to remember names because they are stored in contact lists or on Facebook, the anterior temporal lobe becomes less active, leading to a decline in name memory. This may explain why many people remember profile pictures better than real names. In conclusion, the human brain is designed to recognize faces efficiently, but does not prioritize remembering names due to evolutionary, neurological, and cognitive processing factors. If you often forget names, don't worry, this is a normal function of the brain. However, if you want to improve name recall, try using strategies like visual association, immediate repetition, and incorporating names into conversations. By doing so, you can trick your brain into remembering names more easily. Do you struggle with remembering names? Try these methods and share your experience.